Thank all of my colleagues for coming, and each senator will address you here in a moment, but I thought I would kick it off. I think you know what the subject matter is about. Why are we here? All of us have something in common on the stage today. We believe we're at war. The law enforcement model being used by the Obama administration should be rejected. We're not fighting a crime. We're fighting a war. And to criminalize this war puts our nation at risk. The goals of domestic criminal law is to dispose of criminal charges. The goal of the law of armed conflict is to protect the security of nations within established rules. The focus of the military justice system regarding enemy combatants is to lawfully collect intelligence, keep our enemies off the battlefield, and prosecute alleged war crimes. The military justice system is transparent, well-staffed, subject to civilian appellate review, and above all else, built around the idea that we have been and are now continuing to be a nation at war. The Military Commission Act of 2009 was improved through extensive discussions with the Obama administration and Chairman Levin. The Military Commissions Act of 2009 is truly a model justice system for the world. The system was unavailable for Richard Reed, the blind sheikh, and other terrorists. The purpose of this bill is to prevent the decriminalization of the war on terror and withhold funding from the Department of Justice to prosecute Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the 9/11 co-conspirators in civilian court. I believe it is inappropriate to give the mastermind of 9/11 full constitutional rights of an American citizen. We reject the law enforcement model. Civilian trials of non-citizen enemy combatants captured on the battlefield is a stark departure from past precedent, and in fact has never been used by our nation before. Civilian trials are unnecessarily dangerous, messy, confusing, and expensive. Let me quickly elaborate on these points. The use of civilian trials for the 9/11 co-conspirators is dangerous. Attorney General McCasey, who was the presiding judge in the blind sheikh case of 1995, has spoken about this. He said, in Federal District Court in Manhattan, the government was required to disclose the identity of all known co-conspirators. One of these conspirators, relatively obscure in 1995, was Osama bin Laden. It was later learned that soon after the government's disclosure, the list of unindicted co-conspirators made its way to bin Laden in Sudan. The civilian trials will be messy. Professor Scott Silliman, a former military lawyer who now teaches national security law at Duke, said, "Civilian trials could be a total mess. It's going to be a tremendously complex trial. And do we really want to give KSM the biggest microphone in the world to spread his message of hate? The criminalization of the war is confusing for our troops and our intelligence community. They don't know what rules to use going forward. Just look at what happened with the Christmas Day bomber. An opportunity lost. Someone fresh off the battlefield failed in his attempt to kill innocent civilians, captured fresh off the battlefield in the war on terror, and within less than an hour read his Miranda rights and shut up. How much intelligence did we lose? The law of armed conflict focuses on intelligence gathering because we need to know what the enemy's up to. It focuses on keeping the enemy off the battlefield, and finally, yes, prosecution, but in that order. The civilian trials will be expensive. If you don't believe me, just look at Obama's budget. Hundreds of millions of dollars to try to hold these trials in New York. Why in the world would this country take the people who planned 9/11, put them in the middle of 8 million people in New York City, less than 2 miles of where they attacked the country, and think that's a good thing? That makes absolutely no sense. That is putting the people of New York at risk for no reason, costing money for no good reason, giving the terrorists a microphone they don't deserve, and it puts this nation at risk. Military commissions can be held at Guantanamo Bay quickly, securely, and will add very little additional costs. I believe, like all of my colleagues, there's a better way. Enemy combatants should be held under the law of armed conflict from day one. The military legal system is best able to gather intelligence, keep the enemy off the battlefield, and render justice. But most importantly, our military justice system is best able to protect the American people while adhering to our nation's values. That's what drives our effort to introduce this legislation. With that, I would introduce Senator McCain.